Enter the arena, the Don Juan Banks. Once again, we are bringing you one of the most powerful men on social media. Speaking about the situation between Floyd Money Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, who faced on May 2nd, 2015, from the MGM Grand. More news has come out about this situation. People recently saw the real story behind Pacquiao versus Mayweather documentary and other things. Right now, we have on the line JKD practitioner, the great Kenny Lopez. It's an honor to have you once again.
Hey, what's up, Don Juan? I'm glad to be back on the show. The last time I was on the show, I did the shocking interview, and a lot of people wanted to hear my take on the outcome of the fight. Because when we went on the Google Hangout, we talked about and the fight. When everybody seen it the first time, it was difficult to score it. Some people, what I'm saying, they came out with a close win for Pacquiao, but then you had a lot of people who didn't. So it was different scorecards, and if you watch the fight with a lot of people, like myself and stuff like that, it was difficult to score. So, but when I watched it again, I had Manny winning the fight. It was a close fight still, but he definitely did enough to win, and a lot of things that night were very misleading.
You
So a lot who were watching the fight, and that's because of the whole setup, the commentators, the Compubox, the judging, of course, all of that stuff. I mean,
you
Manny pretty much was fighting pretty much against everything that night. The only chance he had of winning that fight is he would have had to knock Floyd out. That's the reality. If he'd have won at least two more rounds big in the fight, they still would have gave Mayweather the fight. I mean,
exactly.
tell you right there.
Kenny, you unveiled, you revealed, you pulled the curtain behind this whole act. People must, you tell people all the time, come with the facts. Watch what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Be logical about the situation. People need to listen and they need to watch your information because you broke it down exquisitely and you expounded on every single element up to that point. And we get this documentary that comes out to actually back up, solidify what you were saying. Before we get into it, I have to ask you. I mean, you said it before all the information came out. How do you feel about that?
I I feel pleased to know that people were actually paying attention and listening to me talk. I mean, the gentleman who made the video about the real story behind Mayweather versus Pacquiao, he most likely watched our videos. I can tell you that because one of the particular fights he showed was the Cotto fight.
Yes.
The discrepancy in the actual punch stat numbers. So I know he watched it, because no one spoke about that fight but me. I was the only one talking about that fight. So it's great to know that, and I got quite a bit of views too on the video, which I was a little surprised because I didn't think I was gonna get that many views. But then again, it's not something I think about. I just, when I talk about these things, I just try to bring factual information, and
You're
that's what I try to do.
you're
To enlighten, educate people, but not just to educate people to listen to me, but I try to get people to actually think for themselves and do their own research. That's what I try to get people to do.
well, the great Kenny Lopez. Your information is genuine, it is factual, it is real. I go by it. I believe it 100%. Pacquiao won the fight. I've clearly stated that multiple times. But let's get into it. Okay, it is time. So if you're sitting down right now, you better get what you need to get because it's about to begin right now. Kenny, the Compubox, the punch stats, they're not adding up. What is going on?
Well, when you watch the real story behind Mayweather Pacquiao, you seen he showed a clip where Cotto landed 22 punches on Mayweather, and they only counted 8. And he even slowed it down. I mean, these are clean shots touching his body, his head. So you know something's wrong about that. I mean, regardless of what anybody says, video don't lie. You can't get out of that one. I don't care what a judge or a so-called expert says, or because at the end of the day, it's all going to be their opinion. But when you show it on video, video does not lie. You know what I'm saying? And then there was a sequence when Pacquiao, you know, and I told people in the last video we did that they were manipulating the Compubox. I said it was the third time. Remember I said that was happening in the Oscar fight, the Cotto fight, and now the Pacquiao fight.
Yes, you did.
This gentleman showed the Cotto fight. So that pretty much illustrated my point of what I said. And I was talking about that before he even did that video. I was talking about the fight in Cotto. And now people see with their own eyes. And then the Pacquiao fight, and that at the beginning of the third video, it shows Mayweather missing 2 punches. And somehow Mayweather's punch count went up. How is that? And it ain't, don't take my word for it. All you gotta do is watch the video yourself. And it shows it live on video. In slow motion, his punch count went up after he missed 2 punches that he was countered with by Pacquiao. Well, Pacquiao countered him. It was after he missed 2 punches, so his punch count went up, but Pacquiao didn't.
That's
Something is not right. Something's not right. So are they manipulating Compubox? They have to be, because it's too much. The thing is, we have a pattern, and it keeps happening. Someone's doing something. You know what I'm saying? It's one time it happen once, but if it keeps happening, then something's wrong. And you know, remember, you got an actual human being doing the Compubox. If it was a computerized thing, they caught it anytime you throw a punch. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing, but when you got humans controlling it, then errors are going to be made. You know what I'm saying? And that was like, I mean, when you see the evidence on the actual video, when his numbers went up, I was like, okay. They say he landed 34%. In fact, he only landed 19%. And then there was an article that came out, the 6 commentators for Boxing News 24, who did the video in slow motion, and they recounted all the numbers, and they came up with a discrepancy in numbers that where Pacquiao actually landed more punches than he did. And when you watch it, you can see why. Mayweather missed a lot of the punches he threw. The reason why a lot of people thought he was landing was because of the commentators and because he created an illusion, because he consistently kept letting his jab go, keeping Pacquiao at a distance. And Pacquiao wasn't landing a lot of punches. And every time Pacquiao would get it, he was smothering. He wasn't engaging with Pacquiao, so he would control the distance and move out of the way when Pacquiao would come in. But it made it look like he was, doing something when he was landing, but he wasn't landing a lot of punches.
he wasn't. I saw it out of my own eyes.
But it wasn't consistently. And Manny actually landed combinations on him, countered him in the center of the ring several times. They didn't even talk about that. Even the commentators were throwing that off. So when you score a round, you can't score a round based on one specific thing. You got to watch what both fighters are doing. The aggressor doesn't always win if it's ineffective aggression, but the other guy who's the defensive fighter, he has to actually make the aggressor pay for his misses too. And if he's not making him pay for his misses, then you have to give it to the aggressor if he's doing more in those moments. And he's landing more punches here and there. You got to give it to the aggressor, because the defensive guys are not making him pay for his misses, and Floyd wasn't doing that. Floyd was using spoiling tactics, and he wasn't engaging. He didn't even take chances. He was afraid to mix it up with this guy. And this is the same Mayweather that actually brought the fight to Shane Mosley, but he didn't do that with Manny because he was so afraid that he was going to get caught with something like he did in round 4. And let's not forget, Manny only had, his arm was only 60%, that night. And they also have evidence that he had injury. When you zoom in the picture, which they have, he had a big red on his shoulder. We know he had an injury, and we also know he had an injury because there was evidence that he was taking treatment for an injury a month going into the fight by Usada. So, they're not lying about that. They're not making that up. Even Justin Fortune was talking about it, how they had to work around that injury that he had. So there were times where he didn't spar it, and he was working mostly on Manny's footwork, his feet more. You know what I'm saying?
Now I gotta ask two questions,
Yeah.
because there are going to be haters, there are going to be people who have something to say, and they want to. I'm gonna ask these two. Number one, this is a conspiracy. This is all made up. Floyd won the fight, and the Pacquiao fans are just mad. They're making this up conspiracy, and they don't know anything about boxing.
That's usually a cop out right there when people say they call you conspiracy theorists because um, they know that. Here's the thing: you ask yourself this: if anybody believes that the media covers every single thing and they tell the truth about everything, then I would just have to say that they're living under a rock because
Yes, yes,
just because someone has a accredited source or they have a title or they're authorized to do something does not make them an expert. It does not. They just have that title to do it. If there's pieces of evidence missing and you find that evidence, it wasn't placed in that book or wasn't placed on whoever was covering that story, then you know a lie is being told. You know something's not being told. It doesn't matter whether you believe it's a conspiracy theory. Something's not being told. And we're using logic now. Logic, which a lot of people are not born with. You know what I'm saying? And when people or certain people in places of power, they're not going to let the whole truth out about anything. They're not going to want that because if they let the whole truth out about everything, then everyone becomes enlightened. Everyone knows the truth. And more people start asking more questions, which is what they don't want. You know what I'm saying? We live in a society where things is controlled, and they want to
wow,
have under control. You know, controlling mostly the mind too. Remember, free thinkers is the worst people to society in the minds of people in power because those people are dangerous, and they don't want those people in society.
man,
So they're never going to let you know the whole truth. It's just the way it is. You
wow,
ain't got to be no conspiracy theorists and nothing like that. You know
wow.
what I'm saying? Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I said, by that same account, they call us a conspiracy theorist, but we can say they're conspiracy theorists too because they can't, prove us. They can't prove to us, like in the case of the Pacquiao situation, that what we're saying is not true because the actual video shows that the Compubox was being manipulated. The video shows that. So what more proof do you want?
Number two, and you broke it down because knowledge is power. They don't want you to have the knowledge because you are a threat. You can go to jail for having knowledge. Now, Kenny, the second question, they say it's an excuse.
What? The injury or the fight? Excuse
The,
about what?
the injury. They say the injury, him saying the injury is an excuse.
If Mayweather had an injury, you think they would say, and we're going to talk about fans because I know these are Mayweather fans saying this. If Mayweather had an injury like he did against Castillo, because he brought that up too after the Castillo fight, he said he only had one arm. He said I would have won the fight easier, you know what I'm saying, and I won this fight with one arm. That's what he said. He brought that injury up too. Why did he bring that injury up? Because he felt he lost that fight. Deep down inside, he knew that he could have did more in that fight. A lot of people
Yes,
thought he lost.
yes, yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it was okay when he brought it up, but when Pacquiao brings it up, now it's an excuse. No, that's called double standards. It's not Pacquiao fans or anybody being biased. It's really dumb because they're only glorifying everything because it ain't got nothing to do with no Floyd Mayweather. Just look at the facts and be objective. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what they think, there's evidence that the man had an injury going into the fight. Who cares whether he checked the box yes or not like that? There's evidence because Usada documented it. The man was taking a list of medications, you know what I'm saying, before he went to the fight. And that's they're gonna tell me all these people made it up. That means Usada made it up. That means Freddie Rose, Justin Ford, they mean they all lied. And that's what they're gonna say because it's nonsense. And they can't. And they don't want to make nothing up like that. Why would Manny take medications if he didn't have an injury? Why would he ask for a shot before the fight if he didn't have an injury? That's no excuse. That's a legit injury that the man got. Because he don't want to go do that. No one. And as far as the fight goes, of course a shoulder, a torn rib, a couple of things that is hurt your arm could affect your performance. Come on. Of course that's gonna. And Floyd obviously knew about it because he was putting it on his damn shoulder. You can see it in the pictures. He was yanking his shoulder, he's yanking on his arm. He knew about the injury. He even said himself he knew what was going on in his camp. This came out of Floyd's own mouth. He said what was going on in Pacquiao's camp. He knew all this
Yes,
stuff.
he did because he even said He even said in the Jim Gray interview of how many rounds he had sparred, and it came out on Fight Hype also.
Exactly, and Freddie Roach had said there was someone that was from his camp that he got
Yes,
rid of.
yes.
Yeah, before Mayweather even spoke about this. So you mean to tell me Floyd knew about everything he did, but for some reason he didn't know he had an injury? Okay, anybody believes that is stupid. It's stupid, really stupid. And I wouldn't even talk to them if they believe that nonsense. He knows about everything but the damn injury. Come on now. He knew about the damn injury, and he knew he ain't gonna tell you guys that. Plus, he ain't gonna tell no way he knew about it. And he wants to get credit for the victory. You know, no matter how he wins, you don't really care how he wins as long as he wins, and that's only that matters to him. His mom cares about. But yeah, of course, it was a legit factor, and it affected Pacquiao in some ways, and he still fought with that injury. He fought on throughout the whole fight with that injury. He could have easily, postponed that fight. He didn't do that though. Some people say, well, he should have postponed the fight. But then if he would have did that, then we would have had no fight. They would have all been talking about, oh, he's scared of Mayweather. You know that would have happened next. Oh,
Yes, it
he
would
don't
have.
want to fight. Man, that's what they would have been saying. And then Floyd would have used that as leverage against him. He
Yep.
would have did that.
Now,
So,
Kenny, this Compubox that you're revealing, the system they said in the documentary, the truth behind Mayweather Pacquiao, the system been out for 28 years. It's hard for an individual because it's two people who operate the system. It's hard for an individual to maintain concentration, and they push the button if they see the punch. So a so-called obsolete system is flawed. You're talking about this right now. Why are they in favor of Mayweather?
you talking about the fans, the media, or
The
what are you referring to?
Compubox in the Cotto fight and this fight. I was talking about Compubox.
That's a good question, and this is where this is where the people start calling you conspiracy theorists. Well, there could be many reasons why. But the first legit reason, and that made it sound logical, is the man only fights in Vegas, and he's the cash cow
Oh my
of boxing.
God! It's the Nevada State Athletic Commission?
Of course, and the thing is this: he brings millions of dollars, and not only that, he brings so many celebrities to Vegas to watch him fight. I know people in Vegas and told me about this. So, if he can consistently bring money in, constantly bringing that money in, then he keeps them rich in Vegas and the casinos. The casinos make more money in
Wow.
him winning a fight, opposed to someone like Manny winning, and it's not really helping that cause if Manny was to win. Yeah, we can't prove that, but that it comes down to actually using your brain too. This is the reason why the guy never goes nowhere else and fights. He stays in Vegas. That's his hometown. He says that, and nah, it ain't. It's more than just that. It goes deeper than that. It has to do with money again, and as everything does. That's the only plausible, legit, logical reason that why that stuff could be that way. You know what I'm saying? And until you have concrete evidence, people are gonna always doubt that, or the people who support him are gonna say, "Oh, well, you're a conspiracy theorist, and we can't accept your word." But think for yourself too. Don't just accept my word. Think for yourself. Um, the dude is never going to fight nowhere but Vegas. Nowhere else. Because he knows that it's going to be extremely difficult to beat him in Vegas with all of those advantages. And this is the reason why he makes it so difficult when he's negotiating a fight. He wants everything in his favor. Because he wants to make sure he keeps winning at all means. This is it. That's what it is. And like I said, nothing Manny could have did was going to help him win that fight. Let's knock him out. Let's knock him out. The scorecards, the copy, all that stuff was atrocious that night. And so was the commentating. Paulie Malignaggi, I know he recently was talking about the videos being slowed down and whatnot, and he's never going to admit that. He would never admit that Pacquiao beat someone like him, and he probably didn't watch it a second time in slow motion or watch it at all. And if he did, he still wouldn't admit that because his emotions is involved. But people like him, they wouldn't even give it a second chance because it's called denial. But you got to look at things not as a fan. If you put your emotions involved, then you're not going to be able to see clearly what's going on. You're just not going to. I personally, like I said, I thought if anything, the fight should have been scored a draw. You know what I'm saying? But if it was scored a draw, then nobody would be making any money if that happened.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why that wasn't going to happen. And Dave Moretti, this isn't the first time he gave some Mayweather outrageous scorecard. He did it in the Cotto fight, in the Madonna fight, and he's been one of the judges in a lot of Mayweather fights. In the Pacquiao fight, he just gave him a 118, 110. Dude, come on, you only gave Pacquiao 2 rounds, and I think round 5, it was round 5, they only had Pacquiao landed 1 punch. Like, are you kidding me? Only 1 punch?
That is absolutely ridiculous because when you talked about Compubox and they slowed down on that third video of the truth behind Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather video documentary of Cotto landing 22 punches and only 8 being counted.
Exactly. There you go. So there's really nothing else to even argue about because you got video to prove that, prove the points that I made, right there. That gentleman showed that in the video. So what is there to argue about? There's nothing to argue or debate about no more. Unless you want to continue to support or be in that Mayweather matrix and live in a blind world of yours, and you don't want to take that veil over your eyes. That can only explain that, and that's a choice. So, of course, some guys are going to want to continue to keep doing that because they love Floyd Mayweather.
They'll take a W any way they can. Next big question right now. They both passed their drug tests, but Mayweather applied for a therapeutic use exemption. This was posted by Kevin Iole of Yahoo Sports. What was going on?
Well, he took saline and vitamin C. He rehydrated up. To rehydrate his body that night. Pacquiao obviously didn't. And Pacquiao was denied his vitamins and water.
What? He was denied his vitamins and water. By who?
He said it himself. And then, I don't think he's going to make that up either.
The commission stopped him? The Nevada State Athletic Commission?
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, my God.
They denied him the shots. So something ain't right about that. Somebody's hands is in the pot somewhere. Because that don't make no sense. But Mayweather wasn't denied that. And it's funny about the therapeutic use exemption. He got that for saline and the vitamin C he was taking. And the guy said he put on 3 pounds. He went up to 149. He was 3 pounds less than Manny. And anybody believes that he only hydrated 3 pounds, they're a complete moron. And they believe that story. I mean, even like I said, Thunderdome, he touched on that in one of his recent videos. So we know Floyd was around 160, and that's why he hit the weight. He hit the weight because he had a motive. And his motive was he wanted people to believe in this illusion that he's this smaller guy.
He did not show his weight the night of the fight.
No, he didn't want people to know that he was close to a damn middleweight or possibly a middleweight because if people knew that, they would say, well, shit, if you're that damn big, why don't you fight Gennady Golovkin or fight other fighters if you're that damn big? That's the first thing they would have said to him. But he also wants to make the victory look more impressive, too. Come on, man.
Yes.
I figured it out. Even before this information came out, I figured that out, that he lied about the weight. I figured it out just by using my brain. Because he obviously had a motive. You're not going to hide a weight unless you have a motive behind it. You ain't going to do that. Because you're trying to be deceptive. And if someone's doing that, you can't really trust their word. If they're going to do that with that, then they'll do it with everything. They're going to do it with everything.
Now, yes.
And as far as USADA goes,
USADA said, because in this report, it says that according to the records provided by the Nevada Athletic Commission, Nevada State Athletic Commission, the corrupt Nevada State Athletic Commission, each man gave 11 urine and 8 blood samples. Among the special analysis given to the samples were the carbon isotope ratio, mass, spectrometry testing, as well as tests to detect usage of EPO and human growth hormone. But as you stated, the great Kenny Lopez, Mayweather was given a therapeutic use exemption, and this is being overseen by USADA, the United States Anti-Doping Agency.
Of course, and this is something I spoke about in my past videos. Check the videos and how they have done that to a lot of athletes in the past, and this is how a lot of athletes have got over. This is why Angel member Heredia,
Oh
when
my
he was
God.
when he was helping a lot of the Olympic athletes, you know, they was using USADA. That was the drug test organization they was using, USADA. And it came out that Mary Jones was giving steroids to other athletes, but they didn't get caught by USADA. They didn't get caught, so that's to tell you something's wrong. Well, if I was on steroids and I didn't get caught by, and I'm using a drug testing organization, could I really trust this drug testing organization? No, because there's too many loopholes to get out of it, and one of them is the therapeutic use exception. You know what I'm saying? And Floyd, he has a history with. I mean, if you go back to the Mosley fight, he was trying to get his levels up higher. You know what I'm saying? When he was in that thing for 5 hours, that was when he was going to the Mosley fight. If you go back and check that video for that, so we know that the dude is he's obviously doing things he shouldn't be doing. You know, and then Thomas Hauser wrote an article about how he got 2 waivers, but his A sample came up positive. You know, but that was trashed after that because of the drug testing organization he has. And now this, he got the therapeutic exemption for the rehydration. Pacquiao didn't agree with it though. And his team didn't agree with it. Thomas Hauser just wrote about that too. And Gabriel Montoya posted an article. And Gabriel Montoya knows about all this stuff. He knows a hell of a lot more than these fanboys, that's for sure. He knows he's on the inside, so he knows how things work. You know what I'm saying? And Pacquiao team didn't agree with the therapy use exception because he knew that Floyd was going to try. Floyd would have set him up if they would have, and they also wasn't the opposing party wasn't going to know who got it if someone came up positive. This was part of the agreement in the contract if Pacquiao would have signed it, but he didn't. But the night of the fight, he gets granted that therapeutic use exemption. So how do we know that he didn't? How do we know that didn't happen before that? We don't know that. We don't have enough evidence. You know
This
what I'm
is
saying? So
amazing, Kenny, because he's getting this, and Pacquiao can't even get a damn shot for what they USADA approved for the treatment, and they never USADA reported it to the Nevada State Athletic Commission.
exactly. And the key word about and here's the thing in that article that Kevin Iola posted, you really read it. When you read that, you gotta look at key words. It says that it was perfectly fine to use saline and vitamin C and all that in Nevada. You know, it was perfectly fine, but he was granted the therapeutic use exception by USADA since they were the ones overseeing the drug testing. So you know what they're saying is Nevada has no say so at all. So he failed. They could destroy those samples, and because he got granted the therapeutic use exemption, he could go to a doctor and get a doctor's note, and bang, it's not going to affect him. He still passes the test.
Can you believe this, ladies and gentlemen?
It will still come up negative. You know, if anybody don't get it, go do the research. Go to USADA's website. They have a lot of information on about that, how that happens, how you get granted that, and how if you do pass the test, you will get an exemption if you get a legit notice from a doctor. You know, but with VADA, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't get, once you fail, you fail. Plain and simple. That's why Lamar Peterson got busted, why Berto got busted, because they don't allow that, and their limit is only 4.1. That's the reason why a lot of people wanted to do the VADA testing, including Pacquiao, who did the VADA testing for Brandon Rios and for Bradley.
This is unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. Are you hearing this?
Mayweather didn't want to do no VADA. He ain't gonna do no VADA. I want to ask him about doing VADA testing. He would never do it. I know he would never do it. I guarantee it. I guarantee he would never do it. And it's for the reasons I'm just stating that he would never do it. So it ain't got nothing to do with being no fan, but if you're just being honest with yourself, you know, you'll see the truth. You'll see what's going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you hearing this? The great Kenny Lopez live on Enter the Arena giving the truth about the situation right here. Why Floyd uses USADA. Why the Nevada State Athletic Commission is protecting him. Compubox. Unbelievable. So he did apply for a therapeutic use exemption.
Exactly. And you know, people talk about the victory. You know, Scoop Matalowski just put on. I didn't read it yet, but a couple people had told me about it, about the article and how you know that particular fight Mayweather versus Pacquiao is being corrupted and stuff. So I gotta read it. But you know, apparently a lot of people have caught on and they know. And Scoop Matalowski knows all the the dirty stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And so does John Gatling, aka Taz, who writes for Examiner.com. And there's quite a few of other people that know what's going on too. You know what I mean? But they're not going to cover that. You know, the media. They're not going to cover that on ESPN through the media. They're not going to cover all that stuff. They're not going to. You know what I'm saying? Because they can't put all that stuff out. Because if they put all that stuff out, you know what I'm saying, there could be people be losing jobs and other stuff. They'd be losing their jobs if they were to talk about all that stuff.
Point blank. Point blank. I'm going to put you on the spot. Is Floyd Mayweather on performance enhancement drugs?
In my honest opinion, like I said in the shocking interview video, yes, I do believe that. I
Oh
believe
my
the man
God.
doping, and you know we seen that a little bit of that on the video with the vampire facial when he's talking about that going into Canelo Alvarez fight, and when he took his blood out, he takes his blood out and puts it in that centrifuge. That's the process of blood doping, and this was something that Armstrong was doing. You know what I'm saying? But there's a video on YouTube that explains that. So, of course, yes. Do I believe it? Of course I do. You know what I'm saying? And then the last fight, look how fast he looked at 38 years of age. I mean, I don't know, no 38-year-old athlete, they look extremely fast like that. I mean, he looked faster, like I said, in that fight than he did in his youth. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, look, I haven't seen Floyd look that fast in years. I mean, since the Gaddy fight, and it's remarkable. And even with as fast as he looked, you know, Manny he still couldn't hit Manny solidly. And they talk about his defense. If anything, Pacquiao should be getting credit for his defense, because he pretty much boxed with him. Not only boxed with him, and took away a lot of his counter right hands. Even though Floyd landed occasionally, he made Floyd. I never seen Floyd miss like that ever against any opponent. That's because Floyd had trouble timing him. He couldn't time Pacquiao because of Pacquiao's quickness, his feet, head movement. You know what I'm saying? His rhythm. Pacquiao didn't look. He didn't throw a lot of punches, and they talk about, oh well, he didn't create angles, but it's hard to do that when your shoulder is injured, which he was only at 60%. That's one of the reasons. You know, we didn't see a lot of that in the late rounds, although we've seen some of it, glimpses of it in some of the rounds, particularly the fourth round. But the other reason is Floyd didn't want to fight. He didn't engage. He was fighting a safety first fight, and he knew that. The thing is, he knew that Pacquiao wasn't an easy target, and that's why he didn't take chances. That's the reason why he didn't bring the fight to him, because he knew he would have got countered with something big. He knew that. If I can't time this guy with the right hand, and I'm missing like that, I got to take more chances. If I do, this guy is quick, he's explosive, and could tag me. And that was miraculously with a left hand. He was just basically a left hand guy in that fight. You know, even when he had him against the ropes, his right hand, he used the right hand. He used it, but you got to really pay attention. There were times where he didn't use it as much as he should have used it. He was mostly left-handed, and he talked about that on the story, the real story behind Mayweather Pacquiao. When Pacquiao was talking about that, how he was kind of like, handicapped a little bit. You know what I'm saying? When he did throw the right hand, like he threw it in, but he caught him with a right hand, but it wasn't as much power as it would have been behind the right hand if it was 100%. So those little things that does factor in. That's, like I said, that's a big advantage for someone like Floyd. And then he also is battling, as we know, the Compubox now, and the judges and the commentators. He's pretty much battling all those things with one hand, and still good enough to win that fight. So if anything, I should tell you not only the toughness of Manny Pacquiao, but that Pacquiao is not a one-dimensional fighter. He's versatile to be able to do that under all of those circumstances, because that's a lot. Because anybody else wouldn't have been able to do that.
Skip Bayless, who's been scoring boxing fights since September 1978, Ali Spinks, said someone taught him to score a boxing match. The aggressor usually wins. You score for the aggressor unless a knockdown. The scorecards were lopsided. There needs to be a third party independent investigation, as you stated. Investigation by a party that has no allegiances to any camp, especially the Floyd Mayweather camp. Recently, we heard you talk briefly about the investigation of Tom Brady, and now this FIFA World Cup investigation. You know,
Oh yeah,
yes,
you right. And I want to just put some feedback, give you some feedback on what Skip Bayless said about the aggressor. He's
yes,
right.
please.
You usually are supposed to score with the aggressor. However, I give credit to the counter puncher or the defensive fighter. Like I said, if he's making the aggressor pay, making a miss and making a pay, then you're gonna give it to the defensive fighter, of course. I mean, but the aggressor, because then it's ineffective aggression. You know what I'm saying? But if you got like this in this case, the situation between the Mayweather Pacquiao fight, if the aggressor he's not landing a lot, he's missing a lot, but the counterpuncher is also missing. But the aggressor's hustling more, and he's like what Pacquiao was doing. But and the defensive side is missing, but he's resorting to a lot of spoiling tactics, holding and things like that. Because he can't really land on the target. That means that he's getting he's getting a little frustrated at times because he can't land on the target. The aggressor, then you have to give the advantage to the aggressor. You know what I'm saying? Now the aggressor don't land no punches at all. I mean, and the defensive fighter is doing that. Then you have to give it to the defensive fighter because he's controlling the pace. And that's where that was pretty much where Floyd won a lot of his rounds because he was actually controlling the pace. It wasn't because he was outscoring him or he was tagging him at will because none of that stuff was going on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's 50-50. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say you got to watch closely with close eyes. And you can't put your emotions involved, but you could make a scoring error. But as far as the investigation goes, I mean, yeah, of course there definitely needs to be some kind of investigation to see what the hell's going on. I mean, because it's been happening for a while in his fights, and not just with Compubox, but a lot of things, and it's not going to stop. It
If
ain't going to stop.
U.S. Attorney General of the United States of America, Loretta Lynch, the same woman that's involved in this FIFA investigation of the World Cup, she is basically the United States Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, is conducting an investigation into Al Heyman's business practices, a federal lawsuit that was asked to be brought up by the Association of Boxing. Also, Al Heyman has been sued by Golden Boy for $300 million for violation of the Muhammad Ali Act as they allege him being a promoter and a manager. He says he's an advisor. Kenny, you know about these investigations that's been going on right now. Do you feel that this is a pot? Now, you said there should be a third party investigator. The United States Attorney General is investigating. He's being sued. Do you see anything coming out of this toward anything that's going on? Not just what's going on with Floyd, but anything that Heyman may be doing or being alleged.
Well, I can't tell the future, but I can tell you right now, I
The heat
believe
is
that
on.
there's something. We'll know. We'll hear about something. Something eventually. It's gonna come out. It's just only a matter of time. Because these things, like I told you before, has been happening for a while. And the problem with people is when they do things, if you're doing stuff you ain't supposed to be doing, you don't know when to stop. People like that don't know when to stop. They keep on doing it because they get comfortable and they're so used to it, doing it all the time. They don't realize they do it no more. That's their method of operation, and so this is what I believe is going on. You know what I'm saying? And Floyd, as far as Floyd Mayweather goes, anybody who fights him, they're going to be going through the same problems that Pacquiao, Cotto, and everybody else went through. They got to fight the judges, the refs, the copy box. They're going to go through the same problems. I'm telling you right now. Um, anything could change, but it's very doubtful nothing's going to change, especially in Vegas. It's not going to happen. So whoever fights him again, they better be prepared to deal with the same stuff that Pacquiao had to deal with and Cotto had to deal with. I mean, the Pacquiao fight, he made sure everything was, was in his favor. He made sure of that because he knew that was an important fight, and he like he said, he really never wanted to win so bad. So when someone's making a comment like that means they'll do anything they can to win, no matter what it takes to win that fight. So it's gonna happen again. You know, whoever fights him again. And I already told you that this will be the last Floyd Mayweather fight I ever watch. I'm not watching.
Oh, come
You
on,
know.
Kenny. We need you in the boxing game, man. I gotta ask you this question. Now, let's say, tonight, Americon, this video is probably gonna go up, and we don't know who's gonna win that fight at this point. Um, if a Khan, if a Thurman, if a let's say Porter beats Broner, they're Al Heyman fighters, and if they get a chance to fight Floyd Mayweather, it, do you believe there's some behind the scenes things that you cannot talk about, that you cannot say because you are under contract with Al Heyman? Do you believe when you're under contract with Heyman, you can't bring up certain stuff?
Of course. That's the whole point.
Wow! Oh my God!
That's the whole point of having a damn contract. A legal fighting contract could be used against you if you break it. That's the whole point of it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, of course, I could believe that. I mean, um, I'm not a witness. I never seen the contract, so I don't know what the terms and that other stuff is. But of course, I mean, but whoever he fights next, like I told you, they gonna have to deal with the same situation that Pacquiao dealt with, and whether it's Khan, Khan's gonna really have to down to win or score a knockout. You know, 'cause if that don't happen, then he ain't gonna beat him. He's not gonna win.
One of the big questions I wanted to ask you is your confidence in Pacquiao winning the fight. A lot of people have supported you. I mean, this video has over 700 comments, over 500 likes. You're getting people all across the world to listen to what you have to say and how you feel Pacquiao won the fight.
Um, I believe he won.
Yes.
I mean, I reviewed the fight 8 times, like I said before, and it's because of, I'm scoring round by round, and I come up with a point win with him every time. Or the worst case scenario, I could give it a draw, but I damn sure don't come up with no decisive clear cut victory with Mayweather, and it's like the stuff I touched on before is that Pacquiao, he was not only the aggressor in the fight, but he landed more scoring blows in some of the rounds that he didn't get credit for. And Floyd was doing his usual pot shot movement, but he wasn't. He was missing. He wasn't making Pacquiao pay. When he missed, he was missing too. And this is what goes unnoticed. And like I said, people don't gotta take my word for it. I mean, when you rescore the fight yourself or watching it slow mo, you can see it with your own eyes. And then the six commentators who rescored the fight, Boxing News 24, they came up with the same. They came up with a difference in the punches too, Landon, and they said Floyd was lucky to get him there in decision. And I don't think all these people are going to just be biased for no reason. No, I mean, what they going to be biased for? So yeah, I think that Manny won. My point. Everyone has their opinion. The scoring is based on perception now. And like I told everybody, I'm not going to change my mind on how I scored it. And actually, the more I watched, the more impressed I am with Pacquiao, the way he fought. Because Pacquiao actually, made him. Pacquiao was actually, showing great defense, better defense than I've ever seen him show. I mean, he always had underrated defense, the way he catches punches with his gloves and the way he moves his head. But that was probably the best defensive fights I've ever seen him fight. I mean, even with the little handicap he had, he still did very well in that fight. That's the only thing he didn't do was throw more punches. He could have did more, but that's kind of hard to do when a guy doesn't want to engage at all. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't want to engage at all. And then you, like I said, then you fight with a handicap. Then of course he's not going to throw as much punches as he normally throws. But I mean, in this particular fight, you really didn't need to. You really didn't need to if you scored the fight round by round based on how the dynamics of that fight went. He really didn't need to. And people just don't really give him a lot of credit. And they say, oh, he didn't do great like that because he didn't fight up to par the way he normally fights. But he still did enough to win the fight in that fight.
Yeah, and what
So,
about the report that said, however, Mayweather 68 of 471 punches landed 30 punches fewer than Manny Pacquiao?
yeah, I mean, yeah, he did. this was. I mean, listen, man. I watch every time I watch that fight. I come up with the same scorecard. And I give Floyd credit for the rounds he won, even in the late rounds. I mean, even some of the swing rounds, I even, just to make it closer. I mean, I gave Floyd some of those rounds. I think he did a little more in those rounds, even though Pacquiao might have landed a little more. But I mean, if you're being objective and you're not just looking at one guy doing one thing, and like I think one person, he made Pacquiao look silly in round 12 because he's missing all day. But he won the round. I'm like, okay, well, if a guy's not fighting and he's not doing anything, of course a person's gonna miss because you don't want to fight. He didn't do nothing in round 12. So how the hell you give him round 12 when he didn't do shit? That makes absolutely no sense. But you got some people who did that, and like I said, it's based on perception. That's how they seen it. That's how they scored it. But I know anybody that knows how to score a fight properly, and they're being objective about, and they're not putting emotions involved. They would agree and say, well, I'll have to give it to the guy who actually did something, opposed to the guy who wasn't doing anything. I mean, that's how you score rounds.
Yes. Hello?
I'm here.
Yeah. I want to ask you this. There's a division going on in boxing right now. Al Heyman has control over 180 fighters. We just found out Carl Frampton has signed with him. It seems like the good thing to do is keep your mouth shut and don't talk about the situation if you want to be in the boxing game. There's a division in boxing right now. Um, can you go into that a little bit about how a lot of people are just turning a blind eye? They're not talking about it. And some people are scared, and some people don't want to be ostracized, don't want to be isolated, don't want to be marginalized.
I haven't read too much up on I heard about that, the recent thing about Heyman, um, that thing which you just brought up. Um, but division, can you elaborate what you mean? What do you mean by division?
Division in a sense of, you know, let's not look at the negative things that's going on. Let's go with the positive. Floyd Mayweather fought a great fight. He won the fight. Let's not look at anything that's going on behind the scenes. Give him credit and move on.
Oh, well, those are people who don't want attention being put on Floyd, and they don't want things coming out. Because if people keep bringing up the things that in their mind they perceive as negative, it's not really negative. It's just things um, that they don't want talked about, things that are being hidden, like the Compubox. They don't want that. They don't want people talking about that because then the truth start coming out, and then when the truth start coming out, then it doesn't look as good as Floyd winning, and you're putting more attention on Floyd Mayweather. And those are fans of him. Those are diehard fans who feel that way, or people who or people who bet on him, or one of the two. Those are the people who are getting mad about people like us talking about these situations because they don't want that attention on Floyd. Because the more people, because if you stop talking about it, then they're satisfied because then, no attention to be put on Floyd. It gets thrown under the rug, and it looks like Floyd had an impressive victory, and he was the fighter of the century. He beat Manny at his best, but no, it didn't go that way. It didn't go that way. And if you know what's up and you know what really happened, why should you keep your mouth closed about it? I feel you're just as wrong if you just let it go and you know. It's like being unplugged about something. If your mind's unplugged, you can't plug your mind back in. In other words, if you know the actual truth about something, the reality of something, you can't go back into the fantasy world again and you know what I'm saying, and believe something that you know is not, it's a lie. You can't do that because your mind won't allow you to do that. It's just the way it is.
People want that contract. They want the Al Heyman contract. So they're willing to
Yeah,
keep their mouth closed.
exactly. But that's for that. You're talking about people who want to get paid,
Hmm.
and if they only care about getting paid, put money in their pocket, of course they're gonna keep their mouth closed. So they're only doing it for that purpose. It's all politics and brown nosing going on. You know, and people think. And if you're not in it, you ain't gonna know. I mean, Marlon knows how dirty he is. He
Wow.
knows how dirty it is. Even though he sit there, he's on his Pacquiao hate train, he knows how dirty the business is. He talked about it.
The
But of
great.
course, he sold out to Heyman too. He sold out to Heyman, Marlon.
Yes, he did. And recently he was going around talking about Pacquiao's injury, and now he has an injury of his own.
Absolutely.
He
He
was
reaped what he
supposed to
sowed.
compete tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he reaped what he sowed. And, I told people about that too. The more energy you put out, the more it comes back. That's the way the universe works. Whether positive or negative. So because he put that type of energy out, look what happened to him. It came back to him.
So how do you feel? This is my last question. A person that may have supported Pacquiao, may believed in Pacquiao, they can't become unplugged because you said they know what's going on. So they know what's going on. They know about the corruption, and they just switched sides and said, "I'm going with Floyd Mayweather, and I'm down with Heyman and everything that he's doing." And I mean, what do you say about that? A person that's no longer supporting Pacquiao, and they moved on to Floyd and other things.
He was never a true fan to begin with, and that's a person that tells a lot about that individual's character. And that's definitely not a person I would trust. I wouldn't trust someone like that if they switched stuff like that. They switched it. If they did that to that, they do it to me too. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't trust this person if they're gonna sit there and do that. And then you was putting on a facade. It's fake. You wasn't being real. That's a facade. If you're gonna switch sides, what's your agenda? What's your agenda? You obviously have an agenda. So that's the first thing I'm gonna look at. Well, what is it? Is it because are you going with favoritism? Are you going because the majority said it? You know what I'm saying? You obviously don't have a mind of your own. And if you're doing that, then you could be easily manipulated. That's how I look at it.
The great Kenny Lopez. Do you have anything to plug? Do you got anything coming out or anything like that?
No, not really. I just wanna I want
Any
more
shout
people to.
outs?
Oh well, yeah. Shout out to. I always give shout outs, and I give shout out to Taz at RightForExaminer.com, Don't Boxing, 10 Players, Sapphire Carmen, Don Juan, of course,
Thank you.
Boxing 101. We give a shout out to Sports and Battlefield, which is my page, and I want more people to go to that page. I'm trying to get in. I want more people to be, knowledgeable on
Sport
that.
and Battlefield on Facebook.
Yes. You know what I mean?
Everyone go to Sport and Battlefield.
And I see a lot of people have subscribed to my page. They, seen some of my training videos and stuff.
Kenny Lopez on YouTube.
Yes, a couple training videos and showing some of the Jeet Kune Do techniques.
And how to
So nice.
protect yourself in a street fight. Because it can happen to anybody.
Exactly. In the streets, is a different. That's a way different environment than the ring. In the streets, you got to be ready for anything. Bruce Lee said that. You got to just respond to that individual's attacks. And the ring, there's rules and regulations. But in the streets, there's no rules and regulations. It's just you. That's it. And so many different situations are going to be different, and the environment is always going to be different. So that's when the truth come out. If you really know how your stuff, if you're a true fighter, you can handle yourself under those conditions. But the ring is different, And I love the ring. I'm not taking nothing away from the ring because you got to be skilled to be great in the ring too. But it's a lot of rules and limitations. That's why Bruce Lee didn't believe in a lot of the tournament fighting. He was against it. I won't say he was against it. He did full contact. He said the only way you could learn how to fight is if you did full contact sparring, which was important. But he didn't really like the ring too much because he felt it restricted him. It was a restricted environment. But the ring, like I said, it has its place for certain things. You got to be to be a great boxer. You have to have certain aspects to be skilled in. But not anybody can just be a great boxer. Only certain ones. You know what I'm saying? But only certain fighters, like if you look at boxing, you have to be exceptions to the rule to do certain things in the ring. And it's a young man's sport too. It's just sport now. We're talking about sports. Like athletics is more important. But in the streets it's different situation. Speed and athletics and all that stuff helps, but ultimately you need techniques that can help you in life-threatening situations, whether you fighting and not just a one-on-one situation, but even multiple attackers, or if someone's armed. It's so many different things that can happen. The environment's always changing, and that's where why a lot of people like Bruce Lee to this day. So talk about him because he was, you know, he was a complete martial artist, and not just for his skills in the ring. I mean, skills outside of the ring. It was Bruce Lee's thinking. Why people admire Bruce Lee so much, not just his fighting ability.
Yes, go to www.etaallday.com. Make sure you take this time to subscribe. We can't wait to see you again, hopefully. So thanks a lot for coming back on the show and giving it so much knowledge and the truth and the real story behind Mayweather and Pacquiao.
No problem, Don Juan, and I'll be back on again.
All right.
We'll talk more things.
All right. Peace out, man.
All right, my man.
All right. See you later. Peace.